Alright, this is the latest project from Taylor Sheridan, who I've become a huge fan of in recent years. He's just been consistently knocking it out of the park with movies like Sicario, Hell or High Water, Wind River, and a sequel to Sicario as well. I mean, he just makes fun and entertaining movies with some really sharp dialogue and great characters. And sometimes he goes a bit beyond that too, and the movies end up being something truly special. And even though sometimes he's the writer and sometimes he directs, these movies all feel like his movies. So needless to say, when I heard this was coming out not too long ago, I got very excited. Because while I didn't know much about it, I knew that Angelina Jolie was also in it. And I've always liked her, and she was basically a staple of the cinematic landscape when I grew up. However, and I just checked this, I haven't seen her in a new movie in 11 years. Back in 2010, both The Tourist came out, which wasn't great, and Salt, which was actually a lot of fun. But since then, she just hasn't done a lot of live action. Just the two Maleficent movies, and By the Sea that just looks kinda boring. So I haven't checked those out. But now she's back doing something interesting, and I couldn't wait to see if she still had it. And in this one she plays a, not so sure what the correct term is, but one of those brush firefighters, whose job it is to essentially fight and contain forest fires while putting their life on the line. And turns out she's only one of quite a few characters this story centers around. Because it's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, and it actually takes a while for all the pieces to start to fall into place. For all the characters and the storylines to tie together, but when it does, it actually works very well, and I kinda like that part a lot. And for the most part, I really like the performances here. I don't really have any complaints about that. I also generally liked the look of the movie a fair bit, although I will say it was a bit uneven. A couple of scenes just had some effects that looked almost unfinished. There are also a couple of scenes early on that genuinely looked like maybe reshoots. Like someone else had maybe been brought in to do some quick and dirty reshoots, I don't know. Because they just looked out of place and less impressive than the rest of the movie. But those few things aside, I did like the visual side of things here. I think it's a pretty good looking movie. The pacing is also very good, and it just keeps moving at a very steady clip. And as far as pure entertainment value goes, I liked this quite a bit actually. It was very enjoyable. Some of the action scenes were really great, and I don't really have much to say about those. But I'm not gonna lie, this is still the weakest work I've seen from Taylor Sheridan so far. And most of that has to do with the writing. There were just a lot of smaller issues with it. Now when it comes to the actual dialogue, I have basically no complaints. I loved it, it was just great. But the beginning of the movie just felt a bit clunky for some reason. And a lot of the time I couldn't help but to feel like the movie was being a little bit melodramatic. I also don't feel like many of the characters really got a whole lot of screen time. Enough to develop them to the degree that would have given them a whole lot of depth. With that being said, I do think they did an okay job with that. They had just enough depth to work. And toward the end I even found myself emotionally invested in the story and the characters. So that wasn't exactly a massive issue either, but I do think it could have been done much better. And when it comes to the actual plot, the inciting event and the driving force of the story, well, turns out we never actually get to know what that was. Not in any details anyway. And I guess at the end of the day it doesn't really matter, but regardless, I would have liked to know what it was all about. So all in all, I did enjoy this for the most part, and I would say it's about 80 to 90% good stuff here. But unfortunately there's still a fair bit of weak sauce sprinkled throughout it as well. So while I did enjoy this, I can't really find it in me to give it much more than maybe a solid 7. Boop. But if you're a fan of Sheridan or just want to have fun and watch an entertaining movie, I would probably still recommend this. So maybe check it out, or maybe don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic.